Budgeting apps are either too complicated or they're too bare bones and they don't really give you the features that you need. But I've noticed there's one app out there that kind of hits the sweet spot right in the middle. It's cleanly designed, it's fully automated, and surprisingly easy to use without sacrificing some of the features that you actually need to manage your money better. Today, we're reviewing Quicken Simplify, a budgeting app that gives you clarity without the overwhelm of other finance apps. I've tested every major money app out there, and this might be one of the simplest ways to get your money organized in 2026. Here's what makes Simplify different. It actually automates the process of creating your first budget. The way it does that is you connect your financial accounts, your credit cards or your bank account, any spending accounts, and it'll actually download your past spending data, use that historical information to create your first budget automatically for you. It says, hey, do you want me to create a budget based on what your average spending is? Which is amazing. It's literally the process I use for my coaching clients where we go through the past 3 months of data and I say, okay, here's your average spending. That's your actual first budget. We're not just going to throw in numbers on paper and hope they work. We're going to actually use real historical data, and Simplify does that as the very first step when you sign up for the app. So I think that part is incredible because then now you have a baseline to work from, and all you got to do is tweak some numbers. And then combine that with really simple, clean reporting, powerful goal setting that you can actually use to hit your financial goals, and then a predictive budgeting model that carries over from month to month. And Simplify truly lives up to its name. It's one of the simpler to use budgeting apps out there. So in this video, I want to break down what I like about Quicken Simplify. I'm actually show you a demo of my account and show you the things that I like. I also want to highlight a couple of limitations, things that could be improved. It doesn't do everything, and I want to showcase that. I just want to give you my honest thoughts on what I think about the Quicken Simplify app so you can decide whether it's the right app for you. And if not, I've got a whole video of other apps you can check out as well. But I want to make sure that you see all the details here so you can make the best decision. All right, so I want to show you Quicken Simplify. I'm logged in here on my dashboard, and this is what it looks like once you've logged in and connected your accounts. But what I mentioned is when you first sign up for the app, it's going to be a blank slate here, and you're going to go in here and hit add new accounts. Now, like most other budgeting apps, they just connect automatically to your bank accounts, your credit cards, whatever you want, and it'll download your transaction history. It's fully offloaded, like all password protected, your data is safe, all that stuff. But basically what you do is you connect your spending accounts and it brings in the data. And then you'll have some information here, right? You can see I've connected a couple of financial accounts here, and it's got this nice little dashboard. I'm actually going to get out of the way to show you. You've got this customized little dashboard. So on the left-hand side, you're going to have your accounts. Now, this is going to be all of your accounts. You can even connect investment accounts and add other assets and liabilities. Get a true full picture of your finances if you want to. And then you've got these different little widgets here. So you've got this spending plan at the top. It says, okay, here's what's going on in October. Here's what's going on with your current available money and your planned spending. Here's how much you've spent in each of these categories. You can hit over and see all these other different planned spending sections. You can also see top spending categories, recent transactions. But what's kind of cool about this home screen is you can drag and drop it and reorganize it. So you can see I've got savings goals here. Maybe savings goals is the most important information for me. So I can actually drag it up to the top. I can take the spending plan and move it down. So you can move this stuff around as you want to organize it. So when you log in, it looks exactly how you want it to look. So that's pretty powerful. Here's where Quicken Simplify gets powerful, in my opinion, is when you go over to this spending plan. Now, as I mentioned, I've already set this up here, but when you first log in and you've connected those financial accounts, right? You log in, hit add account, add a couple of spending accounts. When you go to this spending plan, it's going to say, hey, do you want me to create a projected spending plan based on your historical spending? To me, that's the smartest way to create a budget because I've been a financial coach since 2012. I've been helping people budget since 2008. And when you create a budget based on what you think you should be spending, like, oh, I'm only going to spend $500 a month on groceries. But the reality is you average $850 a month on groceries. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to spend probably close to $850 a month on groceries, and then you're going to be mad at yourself because you couldn't hit the $500 goal that you set for yourself. You're going to rip up the budget and like throw it away. It just doesn't work. You need to create a budget based on reality, and Quicken does that very well by using that predictive model to help you create a budget based on your actual historical spending. Now, once the budget is set up, you'll notice this looks a little different than other budgeting apps. Most other budgeting apps will have an entire screen, and you scroll down and you got all these categories and everything's listed here. Well, they actually split this up into different sections, which I appreciate, and I'll tell you why. I like to see when I create a budget, I create it into 4 different parts. I've got the income at the top, and then we've got fixed expenses, you've got sort of variable expenses, and then you have savings goals, or I call them savings buckets, small amounts that you set aside for a larger infrequent expense later. They do that automatically right in the Quicken Simplify app. So when you go to income here, you'll see I've got all my income section here, and then you go over to bills. This is going to be all your regular bills. So it's going to automatically pull these in. You might have to manually add a few. Again, I'll pop out of the way here. So it sees, oh, I've got mortgage, and I've got the AT&T bill and my utilities and some other things here. They'll even split it out by subscriptions or transfers and credit card payments, so you can kind of see the money moving into those sections. But you can also go up here and hit plus bills, and you can scroll down and find what's a regular bill that happens every single month. And so I can go and try to find something and go, oh yeah, I've got this Greenlight app. It's not restaurants, but I'll adjust that. And I can add this to my recurring. You can even connect it straight to the biller, so it'll automatically reconcile it for you and give you your exact billing. But you go in here and you can see, okay, now I've got Greenlight app, and this is a financial app. So I'm going to put this in here. This is how I help my kids manage their money. It's called Greenlight. But you can see now I've got all this added to my bills, and this shows up whether it's paid, whether it's past due and hasn't gone through yet, or you're expecting it coming up. So I've got a water bill expected to be coming up around $191. Again, that predictive model is really nice because they show you right in one screen, here's what's happening, here's what's coming up, and then you see, am I on track? Do I even have the money left for this? Then this planned spending section is sort of where you create the actual budget. I say you've got your bills, make sure you get your bills all organized and everything's in there. And then for this is where you actually create planned expenses. So I've got entertainment, gas, groceries, right? All those types of things. You can see on shopping, I've had 22 transactions and I've already overspent the budget that I created. But if you want to create a new expense, you just hit new expense. And you can have it for this month only, or you can have it happen every single month. And then you can scroll down to different categories. So I'm going to go to parking here. It says it's a popular one. And check this out. It says I spent about $267 a month on parking. This is where the predictiveness is slightly off. I don't think everything is categorized correctly because I'm definitely not spending $250 a month on parking. It's probably more like $25. But I'm going to put this in here, but it's really nice that it'll say, here's your average spending in this category, right? And you can even set it up to roll over every month. So if you've got an expense that varies every single month, or maybe you're like, I've got the entertainment category, and if I only spend $50 this month, but I budgeted $100, I want that extra $50 to roll over so I can spend $150 next month. Again, a lot of budgeting apps have this feature, but they build this right in. So now I've got this planned expense for parking, and you can see it here. So that planned spending is really straightforward. It's super easy to just add an expense and pop it into your budget. I know a lot of people might think this is slightly annoying to have to go, okay, I'm going to jump between my bills and my spending, and then you've got this other category, but I actually like it set up in these blocks. This is how I think about money management anyway. Now, other spending is just stuff that's not part of your planned spending. It's just sort of a general bucket. And it does auto-categorize everything. And you can see quickly, I can hover over, okay, we did pre-book some travel we have coming up. So I spent $1,000 there. We did some donations. I've got some home furnishings that came in. So this is all other spending. And then goals. This is the feature that I actually like. And this one's huge to me. So goals are things that you save up for that are infrequent, that are coming up later, or they're a goal you want to set for the future. So I've got emergency fund and vacation here. So emergency fund is I want to save $10,000 by January 2026. I'm halfway there. Cool. We got to save some more money. And then we've got an upcoming vacation, $3,000 by August of 2025. I need to come in and update this goal, and I'll show you how that works. But goals aren't managed here. They're actually managed on the left-hand side under savings goals. And again, this is one of the features I actually really like that I think they do an incredible job of. And so I'm going to go in here and set a new goal and say, okay, I want to get a new car. And I'm going to say $10,000 for this new car. And I'm going to make sure that I put it attached to an account. So what I would typically do is attach several savings accounts. Like I use Capital One 360. I've got like 7 or 8 different savings accounts with different, and I nickname them. So one of them could be the new car fund. And then I start putting money toward that new car fund. But for example, I'm just going to like click one of these accounts. It doesn't really matter right now. And let's say I've got about $4,000 saved toward this savings goal. So I'm going to hit continue. And here's what I really like about this goal setting feature. This is what makes it stand out. It says if I want to save the leftover $6,000 by 1 year from now, October of 2026, then I'm going to need to set aside $461.54. So it actually calculates for me on a monthly basis over the next 12 months. Here's exactly what you need to put aside into this savings account to make sure you hit your $10,000 goal. That is how goals should be set. They should have a timeline, they should have a deadline, they should have a total amount, and then it'll break it down by how much you need to save per month to get there. It's the only way to do it. But let's say, okay, I don't need a car for a couple of years. I think I can get a couple more years out of this. And I change my date for another year later. So in 2027. So now I have 2 years. I have 24 months to save for this thing. And you can see down here, it says, do you want to change your monthly contributions so that I get to that goal right on time? Now I hit change and boom. $240 a month. 2 years from now, I'm going to have $10,000 for that replacement vehicle. So when I hit continue, it's saying, hey, do you want to set aside this money in my spending plan? Yes, I want to make sure this is built into my budget. So I hit create goal. Now, when I go back to my spending plan, so you can see the goal is here. It says I had $4,000 saved so far. And then when I go back to my spending plan here, under goals, boom, it's built into the budget. Like, I love that feature. And I will say, I've seen that feature in a couple of their apps, but I really do like seeing the goals here. And I think Simplify does this very, very well and makes it very simple. The next section is bills and income. I'm not a huge fan of this, except for because it's built into the spending plan. So you go to spending plan, you got the bills, right? You can see them here. And then you can go under excluded this month and you can see, okay, are there any other recurring bills that I want to get added? And you can quickly add those, or I'll pop out of the way here. Again, you can find your bills and do this very quickly. I will say the bills and income section, maybe this is really simple for you to go through and find those recurring expenses that you haven't added to your budget yet. And then you can go in here and make sure that it's part of your spending plan, or you can exclude from your spending plan, either one. But to me, I don't know, I don't necessarily live in this area. The calendar is helpful though. So if you're looking at the calendar, you can go, okay, what is coming up, right? So it looks like November 1st, I have a mortgage payment and I've got some deposits coming in. I've got an AT&T bill due on November 13th. So you can see on the calendar view, this is helpful to me to go, okay, when is the money leaving my account for these recurring expenses? I think that is helpful. But having this huge list of stuff is, I don't know, it can be helpful. I will say some of the apps do it better. This one does it better. When I was over in Monarch Money, they didn't do a very good job. They had Amazon listed like 19 times. So that wasn't as helpful. But this could be nice if you're just getting set up and you're like, okay, I want to make sure I don't miss any bills. Let's make sure we get all that stuff added to the budget. Let's make sure I'm looking at the calendar so I know what's coming up. But other than that, I don't really use this feature too much. All right, so planning tools. This is where it's a nice idea. Honestly, I wouldn't even use this tool. I messed around with it a little bit, and you can put in, okay, I've got $100,000 invested, and I can invest $1,000 a month in my 401k. I want to retire at 65, life expectancy 85. I currently spend 80 grand a month, but and I'll have Social Security and pensions and whatever, another 40 grand. Here's what I'm hoping will happen. And then it gives you some of these predictions. I will say, this isn't even as good as some online calculators, in my opinion. And so I use Empower for this. If you haven't seen, I'll link a video up here. I've got an entire deep dive into Empower Personal Dashboard and why I like their retirement planning tools, their fee analyzer, their investment breakdown way better than something like this. And I get why they want to help you see the bigger picture, but this is just not helpful to me. And I think that you need some more detail. And I've got some other apps I'm checking out as well that do a better job of this. You can connect, hit get started here and get a free credit score. And so that can be helpful, but almost every app does that nowadays. My bank account, my credit cards do that. So that is kind of redundant personally to me, but if you want an all-in-one solution, you've got that here. And then again, going over to the investment piece, I connected one of my Roth IRA accounts just to kind of see how they show the investments. It's real basic. Again, I use the Empower Personal Dashboard app for this. You can see your balances over time, how things have gone. So I can say, okay, year to date, what's going on? Okay, I'm up $934, about 14%, which makes sense. I'm just invested in a total stock market fund. And then you can look at performance, but it kind of shows the exact same thing. One thing I like about Empower and even some other finance apps is they'll show you, here's how you've done, here's how the S&P 500 has done, here's how the international stocks have done, here's how bonds have done. Like, it'll actually overlay, like, here's how you're performing against industry benchmarks. Again, if you just want basic, hey, here's what's going on with my investments data, here's how it tracks my net worth, awesome. But for me, isn't super useful. And then reporting, I'm going to jump to watch list here in a second. But reporting, I think is great. I think it's super simple. It gives you a nice color coded breakdown. I really like the wheel, and you can just go in and go, okay, what did I spend on groceries? I just click on groceries, and then boom, I can see the grocery transactions that have gone through. And so you can quickly jump between categories and kind of see the breakdown, right? I've got travel. Okay, yeah, I know I have some airfare and hotel. Here's how it's split up. It just quickly shows me the transactions. I can see what's going on. This is a really nice way, like, especially if you have a spouse and you're like, hey, let's just sit down. Let's talk about where our money went. Let's just do a quick review. The reporting will quickly break it down in a nice, simple, color coded way. So, here's where our money went. And they've got all kinds of breakdown. You've got income and expenses. You got savings. You got net worth tracking. You've got monthly summaries. You've even got a tax breakdown. Again, Quicken is an accounting software, and so they can break this down for tax purposes. Again, I've not dove into this. I have a CPA that takes care of this stuff, but it is kind of interesting how they kind of give you a lot of these updates and reporting built in. But I just like this simple spending report. This makes me happy. I could use this in practical real life. All right, I skipped over watch lists, but I do want to show this one feature because this is another standout feature. So if you go into watch lists, what it is essentially you can create spending watch lists. Like give yourself alerts for specific categories where you're prone to overspend. And I think this is super handy because everyone knows that there are certain areas that you're going to overspend. And you know what that is for you. Like I know what it is for me. It's definitely groceries and restaurants. But whatever it is for you, you can create a watch list for that. So you can see I have gifts and groceries and entertainment and dining and drinks. And what's cool is they'll use your historical data. They'll say, hey, here's what we project you're probably going to spend on groceries, about $1,700, right? And this month I spent about $1,200, so I'm just a bit under there. I set my target for $1,800, right? Family of six, we eat pretty clean, buy a lot of organic food. $1,800 is the target we're shooting for, but it says in a normal month you spend just under that, which is awesome, cool to see. But what this will do is I can actually have this give me an alert, and I'll show you how to set that up in a minute. But let's say you want to create a new watch list, and you can do it by payee, by tag, or by category. I like to go by category. And so you can go in and go, okay, where do I normally spend a little bit too much money? Where am I a little too loosey-goosey with my finances? And so you can go in and pick whatever category that is. So I think I already have restaurants up there, but under dining and drinks, I can just check the restaurants box and I can just say eating out, and I can set a target and say, you know what? I know what my budgeted target is. It's $350 a month. So let's create this. And then what's going to happen is if you can quickly jump in here and see where are we at so far, and am I going to go over this? And so right now I can see eating out, I've spent 49 so far. My target's 350. But this watch list is handy. Now let me show you this. There's the notification center. Now in the mobile app, you can actually have this as a push notification. So it actually shows up. Beep. It buzzes you when you're overspending in some of these watch list categories. And so if you go to the notifications, watch list approaching target, you see how it turns orange here? You'll get that notification. So not just, oh, I overspent, but, oh, I'm approaching overspending in this category. I need to be mindful for the next 10 days or whenever you get paid next, right? To watch out for the overspending. So watch lists is pretty cool, in my opinion, and a unique feature that I haven't seen in most other apps. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what you can get from Quicken Simplifi. I think really the power is you connect your accounts, you go to that spending plan for the first time, you create a budget based on real spending, and then you start tracking it. You set up some of these watch lists and these goals, you set some alerts, and you just start getting an idea of where is my money going? How is it coming into my life? How is it going out of my life? The reporting is simple. I will say again, the sort of the bills and income, planning tools, investments, probably some of the weaker points of the app, and I use other apps for those types of features. But overall, I just like the look and feel, and it's got a nice, simple layout. All right, so those are my honest thoughts on Quicken Simplifi and using the app. Again, it's very straightforward and simple. It is missing some features that maybe some other apps have. It's not got a strong feature suite around network tracking, investments, that type of thing, but it's sort of good enough in those categories. But if you just want a simple budgeting app that really automates the process for you, this could be a good option. And another cool feature, is it's $3.99 a month. It is one of the least expensive budgeting apps out there. Now, you do got to pay it on an annual basis, but it's just under $50 for the year. And you can sign up. There's a 30-day sort of no hassle refund if you don't like it. But it's not free, right? There's not like a free trial. Like you got to pay up front. And then if you need a refund, you can get a refund. But it's a low cost budgeting app that kind of does what it says it does and does a pretty good job of it. Now, how does Quicken Simplify compared to the other budgeting apps that are out there on the market? I will say it is, again, true to its name. It's a little more simple than something like Monarch Money. I would call that sort of your personal finance dashboard for everything. It really is an all-in-one app. And I'll link to my review of Monarch and Empower and a few other apps out there as well. But Quicken Simplify, the goal setting features, I think, are a little bit more dialed in and powerful than what you would see in Monarch, but Monarch's got a little more detail on the budgeting. Now, something like Lunch Money, which is a new powerhouse app that I love, and it's super clean, and it's got a really, really nice user interface, and it does a great job of keeping it clean, but also giving you powerful data on the back end. I would say that Quick and Simplify, again, the goal setting feature is a standout compared to something like Lunch Money, but it's not going to give you detailed budgeting breakdowns and the stats and details and some of the automations you're going to get with Lunch Money. And even though Quicken is supposed to be simpler, I will say Lunch Money is cleaner, in my opinion, as far as their layout and their budgeting features go. Now, versus something like You Need a Budget has a high learning curve and is aimed at people that are trying to get out of debt and save money. They're probably one of the best at those specific things, but there's a lot of more involvement. It's less automated. It's more hands-on. You need to get in there and clear the transactions, make sure they're organized. It keeps you accountable in a good way, but kind of an annoying way sometimes, versus something like Quick and Simplify, which is truly automated. And then versus something like Rocket Money, again, Rocket Money, super clean interface. Their big claim to fame is that they will negotiate your bills lower for a fee, and they actually did that for me, and it worked. And they actually have a pretty good recurring transaction section where they'll find you recurring subscriptions and transactions you didn't know about, better than most other apps. So I would say they do a little better at that. And then the budgeting features are on par. It's pretty straightforward on Rocket Money, but Quicken has that nice framework where they break down income, spending, and recurring expenses in different categories. So that's how it stands out. Again, it's more for a simplified, automated budgeting experience versus like the full meal deal, which you get with the other apps. All right, so hopefully that shows you what it can do, what Quick and Simplify can't do, and whether or not you want to give it a shot. You can use my referral link below. I do receive a small commission if you do sign up using that link, so I appreciate that. It helps support the channel. Even if you don't want to use that link, no worries. You can just go look up Quick and Simplify and give it a shot. Again, it's $3.99 a month. You got to pay on an annual basis, and they do collect that fee up front. So it's not like you get this free trial and you can pay later. You pay now, but they do say it's like a 30-day money-back guarantee. If for some reason it doesn't work out, you can just ask for a refund and they'll give that to you. So hopefully that was helpful. If this is not the app for you, though, I did make an entire video where I break down all the best budgeting apps that I've personally used. And like I said, I've been at it for decades at this point, and you can check the full breakdown of those in this video right here.